What is up, guys? My name is Lex. Welcome back to the vlog. After a 6-month long road trip across the country, we have finally made it back here to South Florida. I started playing here at the Hard Rock 4 years ago, playing 1-2, moved up to 2-5 here, started playing 5-10 here about 2 years ago, so this place feels like home to me. I am super excited to get back in there, see my old friends, get down to the table. Hopefully we can run good our first session back. Let's get down to the table, let's get to the action, let's go. We sit down with the 5-10 game, buy in for the max, which is $2,500. I feel super comfortable here. I have over 1,500 hours playing this game. Starting it off here with King 10 of diamonds, button straddles to 25, small blind folds. I'm in the big blind, I raise to 75, cutoff makes to call, so we're heads up, out of position to our first flop back here in Florida, which is Jack 4 rainbow. We completely miss. However, on this board, if I bet, I think I can get him to fold better hands, like better king high hands and ace high hands, so I make it $75, and unfortunately, he decides he wants to play for more. He raises me to $200 something, and we fold. Moving on here, hijack makes it 35. I have 8-9 suited on the button. I feel like sometimes I can 3-bet here, sometimes I can call, and this time I decided to put in the call. Small blind calls, big blind calls, 4 ways to a 9 high board. We flop top pair, initial raiser on the hijack bet $60. I call, small blind calls, big blind folds. We're down to 3 and see the jack of clubs on the turn, now giving me a pair and a flush draw. Small blind checks, initial raiser on the hijack continues to bet for $150. His line is pretty strong. He raised pre-flop, he bet into 3 people on the flop, he got called twice, and now he's betting again on the turn. He's repping hands like aces, kings, queens, maybe pocket jacks, ace jack, ace 9. All those hands we're losing to. However, we just have way too much equity to fold. I considered raising here, thinking maybe I could try to represent 2 pair and get him off an overpair. However, this particular player does not like to fold to me, so we're going to try to hit our outs on the river, which we don't. It's a 3 of spades. We completely miss. The hijack player continues to bet. He puts the pressure on, $675. Now we only have second pair, but this bet sizing really did get me thinking. I don't think you bet this big with hands like queens or kings, so he's repping a pretty narrow range of hands like pocket 9s, which we block. He's repping pocket jacks, which is definitely possible. Maybe ace 5 or 5-6 for a straight, which I don't think he's actually betting that again on the turn as a semi-bluff, so we're not losing to many hands. However, there's really not many bluffs that he can have. Maybe king queen as a bluff, possibly ace queen or ace king that he just went crazy with. So after thinking for a while, I think there's a lot of hands I can call with here, and a 9 is not one of them, so we let this one go. We are now quickly stuck around $500, not really how I wanted to start my first session back here in Florida. However, that is about to change when we pick up our first premium of the day. Pocket kings this time on the hijack. I make it $35, only the big blind calls. Queen 3 rainbow, a super dry board, not too much to be worried about here. So when he checks to me, I decide to put in the trap and check this one back. The turn is at 10, now the big blind leads out for $95. I check back on the flop to let him to potentially bluff on the turn or overvalue bet a worse hand. So I don't want to raise, I want to allow him to keep bluffing on the river if he is, and keep overvaluing his hand on the river as well. So I just make the call, and we see a pretty good card on the river. It's another queen, so now we make a full house, queens full of kings. A great run up for us. We under-repped our hand on the flop. I don't think he's ever going to put me on a hand as strong as pocket kings. If he has a 10 here, I assume he's going to bet, which he does. He decides to put out a bet of $300. Now, he only has about $400 left. If he has a queen, then I guess we're just going to double this guy up. So I decide to go all in, and it looks like he was bluffing. He doesn't think for too long and lets this one go. So we finally take down a pot. We're just about even on the session. Next up, under the gun races to 40. I have a hand I want to be re-raising with. Ace King, a premium. We want to be playing big pots with this hand, so I 3-bet to $125. Under the gun makes the call. We're heads up, in position to a king high board, making top pair, top kicker. He checks. I bet $125, and he makes the call. Turn 8 of clubs, not the best card. It can improve my opponent to some 2 pairs, maybe a straight, or possibly a set. So I'm thinking about checking this one back, but we don't have that option. He decides to lead out here for $275 now. He could be betting here with hands we're beating like king queen, king jack, maybe some bluffs. However, there's a lot of hands we're losing to, so I feel like just a call is fine. We can evaluate on the river, which is what I do. We end up going heads up to the final card, which is the 4 of spades. Bringing in the front door flush. A terrible run out for our hand. The front door flush gets there. Any 5 will make a straight. There's a lot of 2 pair combos that beat us. If my opponent bets here on the river, we could be put in a nasty spot. However, he decides to check. And with my hand here in a 3-bet pot, I don't think I can go for value, so I decide to check back. My opponent is first to show. He shakes his head as if he has nothing, so I just show the ace king and it is good. We take down our second pot here. Fast forward about 20 minutes, we have king queen in the cutoff. There's an under the gun limp for $10. I raise to $50. He makes the call. We see a jack 10 deuce board, so we flop open-ended and 2 overcards. Any ace, any 9 will give us a straight, and any king and queen can give us top pair. Pretty good board for us. My opponent also limped under the gun, so he should really never have jack 10, pocket jacks, or pocket 10, so I feel like I can bet here. And if I get called, I can basically double barrel on almost any turn card. I make it $60 and under the gun makes the call. The turn is a 3, it really shouldn't change anything at all. I don't think he's calling on the flop with pocket 3, so this card is a complete brick. So when he checks over to me, I want to keep putting on the pressure here. Like I said on the flop, this is a great board for my range, so I can try to apply a bunch of pressure, getting him to fold his one pair hands. So I make it $225, and this time it does the trick. He very quickly folds, and we win. Interesting hand next. Under the gun limps. Under the gun +1 makes it $35. I have ace jack suited next to act. I should be 3-bet or folding here a lot of the time. However, the under the gun player only has $1,000. He's a very tight player, so if I 3-bet and he 4-bets me, I'm going to have to fold such a great looking hand. If I fold, that's just way too nitty. If I call, yes, other players can call behind me. However, I'm not too concerned about that. The rest of the players at the table are just playing for fun. They're not professionals, so I feel okay going multi-way with this hand, which is what we do. We're 6 ways to a jack-high board. We flop top pair, top kicker. Big blind decides to lead out into everyone for $80. Under the gun calls. Under the gun +1 folds, and now the action's back on us. When the big blind leads out for this sizing, I think he's going to have a weaker jack here a lot of the time, maybe a straight draw, maybe an 8, and when under the gun calls with all these players behind him, I don't think he's going to be too strong either. Now, neither of these players can have an overpair given the pre-flop action, so with the best hand here a lot of the time, I decide to put in a raise. I bump it up here to $225, cutoff folds, button folds, big blind surprisingly folds, and the under the gun player makes a call. So we're heads up to the turn, which pairs the board. It's another 5. A great card on the turn. He really shouldn't ever have a 5 here that's calling a flop bet and a flop raise. However, this is South Florida. You really don't know what these players are doing. When he checks to me, I actually kind of got a bad feeling that he had a monster and he was slow playing. This player is very aggressive, so when he plays passive, a lot of the time he has a monster. So I check this one back, and we see the ace of diamonds on the river, giving us top 2 pair. If he leads out here, I'll probably just call, but he decides to check. Now, with my 2 pair here, if he has a 9 or possibly a jack, I don't think he's going to call a very big bet. So I bet small. I make it $250, and he very quickly calls. We show the ace jack, and it is good. I'm a little curious of what he had there. Most likely a jack, like jack 10 or queen jack, so maybe we did miss a bet on the turn. However, if we did bet the turn and he called and the river was an ace, I feel like he's not going to be calling with just a jack, so we probably got the maximum there. Only 2 streets of value. We started off this session a little bit rough, losing a couple $100 with some small hands, but we're on a 4 for 4 win streak of about $1,000 now. Under the gun, same player from last hand raises to $50. He had been limping a lot, so I feel like he's going to have a pretty strong hand here. We have queen 10 of clubs on the button. I make the call. We've won the last 4 of our hands we played, so let's make it 5 for 5. Small blind calls as well. We see a flop 3 ways of king, jack 4. We flop open-ended. Small blind checks over to the early position player who continues to bet here for $100. He raised to $50 pre-flop and then bet on this board, so I feel like he's going to have hands like aces, ace-king, pocket kings, pocket jacks, king-queen, king-jack. With our open-ender here, I don't think we can ever raise. We can't fold, so I make the call. I'm hoping to smack a 9 or an ace, and if we do, we could be playing a massive pot against this guy. The small blind lets his card go. We are looking for a good turn card, which we get. It's a 9. We make the nuts. By God, sweet baby Jesus, we hit the perfect turn card, the 9, giving us a straight, and my opponent continues to bet, but for $25. $25 bet. I am so confused here. I actually asked him, did you mean to bet that? And he said, yeah. I bet 100 on the flop. Now I'm betting 25 on the turn. The action's on you. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. Maybe he's betting small to get a cheap showdown. Maybe he's trying to induce me to raise. I have the nuts. I got to put more money in. So I make it $300. He very quickly makes the call. So a pretty big pot brewing here. We're looking for a brick river, which we do not get. It pairs the board. On the flop, I put him on hands like aces, ace king, kings and jacks, so this river isn't the best. It could improve him to a full house. However, I don't think he's ever betting $25 on the turn with a set of jacks or a set of kings or a set of nines, so I'm really not too worried. When he checks, I'm thinking about what bet sizing I want to use here, trying to get called by a one pair hand. However, it doesn't come to that. He just folds his hand, so we didn't even have to bet. We take it down, and yeah, that was pretty easy. Today at the Hard Rock, there's 2 5-10 games. This game is the must-move game, which means that every time a seat opens on the main game, a player from this game has to go over and fill the seat, and I'm up next to move, so I take my chips and head over there, and this game is playing much bigger than the must-move game. It's a mandatory 5, 10, 25 straddle, and the stacks are pretty big. We've been running pretty good so far this session, making some hands, getting paid off, no bad beats, and hopefully that continues when we get the Rockets pocket aces under the gun. I make it $75. Small blind makes the call for $75. Under the gun, straddler makes the call as well. 3 ways to a 7-4 deuce board. When it checks to me, I bet $150. Small blind folds. Under the gun straddler thinks for a while and makes the call. The under the gun player looks like a Spanish pro who only came here to try to take some American money, and we're going to do our best to not let that happen. Let's send him home with less money than he came here with. The turn is a jack of spades. He checks over to me. I check out his stack, and he only has about $700 left. The pot is about $550, so it's kind of awkward here. I guess I could bet smaller, looking to jam the river, but I want to charge him the max with his flush draws. I don't have the ace of diamonds. He could have the jack-high flush draw. Maybe he's unbelieving with pocket 8s or pocket 9s or a 7. So I decided to rip it all in here. He doesn't snap call, which is great for us, which means we have the best hand here 100% of the time. He does go into the tank, and while he's thinking, I'm contemplating my bet size. Maybe I could have bet 200 or 250 on the turn, and he would have called with a lot of his range, but maybe by betting the sizing, it will level him, and to think that I'm bluffing with a flush draw or ace king or ace queen, and maybe he'll call down lighter. I'm obviously hoping for a call here. Let's stack this guy. Let's send him home. One less Euro Pro to worry about down here. But unfortunately, after about 2 minutes of tanking, he lets it go and the aces hold up. What a great smooth sailing session to come back to. We really haven't won any huge pots, but we really haven't lost any pots either. Basically, every hand I play, I win a medium-sized pot, which is great to build up the stack. I'm now up about $1,500 to $1,600 in the session with about 1 hour left to play. There's a couple recreational players at the table, and I'm trying to play some pots with them, so I make it $35 with pocket 5s, and now the button, who is one of those recreational players who's here for fun, 3-bets me to $75. Now, for this sizing, I'm just never going to be folding a pair. I'm not going to 4-bet, so I make the call. We go heads up, out of position in a 3-bet pot, which is 5-4 deuce, 2 clubs. We make top set. I check, and he checks back. Unfortunate. The turn is a deuce, now giving us a full house right away. I'm not going to check and let him check back again, so I bet $125. He very quickly makes the call. River is a jack, and honestly, I have no idea what this guy can have. I would assume that he'd be betting his overpairs on the flop, his ace-high hands on the flop, so I'm going to put out a bet here that he can call with a ton of hands, and maybe it will induce him to raise. I make it $150, and he very quickly puts in the chips.
Fives are good. Nice hand, man.
Lucky flop. Thank you. This ends up being the last significant pot we end up playing for the night. So after 6 hours, our first session back at the Hard Rock for over 6 months, we book a win and we end up racking up our chips, heading to the cage and cashing out for the night. All right, guys, that is it for this one. Our first session back here at the Hard Rock. We were traveling for 6 months, and I gotta say, it is good to be back here. So some of you may know if you've been following me on this channel for the last year, and some of you who just started following me like 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 5 months ago, you may not know that South Florida was my home for about 4 or 5 years. I moved here to Miami in 2016, started playing poker in 2018, and during that time I probably played half of my hours total here at the Hard Rock. I was playing a lot of 1-2 here back in the day and 2-5 here back in the day. It was a great stepping stone to try to play a little bit bigger games. And then after the lockdowns in June 2020, this was like the first place to open, so I started playing 5-10 here, and I basically became a Hard Rock regular for about a year and a half before I went on my long road trip. So this place is home to me. It's my home casino. casino. I played the most hours here than anywhere else in the country, so I love this place. It is amazing. As I showed you guys in the intro, a crazy nice guitar hotel. The staff is great, the dealers are great, the action is awesome. Poker room is amazing. It's like 2 or 3 years old. Tons of games to choose from. So if you guys have not been down to Hollywood Hard Rock, make sure to come down here. Check out the tables. They also do tournament series like every 3 months as well. Pretty great place. It feels great to be home. You know you're back in South Florida when you come outside and you immediately start sweating. Like, I was freezing inside, I come out, boom, the sweat just starts. So I know I'm home, I know I'm back in South Florida. Feels good to be back here. I ran super well today. Ended up just in a bunch of magical spots, really good spots, hitting the nuts, flopping top pair, top kicker, making a set, making a boat in a 3-bet pot. Just ran very pure all day. Ended up winning a little over $2,000, so I will take it. Gone for 6 months, come back, run good, end up making like 2,000 bucks. So that is it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna be here for 6 weeks making poker videos, playing poker at the Hard Rock, and then we're back to Texas and then back to Vegas for the World Series of Poker. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, comment anything down in the comments if you have any questions, anything like that, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'll see ya.